Hey, it's me, the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Marty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
Marty and the Pharaoh.
With Marty and Pharaoh. The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and Pharaoh, bro.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
And you're watching the Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
With Monty and the Pharaoh.
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 Marty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Monty and Pharaoh.
The Monty and the Pharaoh Show.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
To the Monty and the Pharaoh Show. And it's Monty and the Pharaoh, baby.
Watching Monty and the Pharaoh.
With Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, what a run.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famer, that rocker, Marty Jannetty, and MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff, and we gonna rock it.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Duh. If I was gonna want to have sex with my damn daughter, do you think I'd tell the internet? What the
Welcome to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast out of Indie Music TV. Here out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island, Monty and the Pharaoh. Future Hall of Famer, WWE superstar, and the man of the hour, Mr. Marty... Wait. The invisible Marty Jannetty. How are you?
I'm doing excellent, man. MJ in the house.
Are you sure? I can't
tell.
This whole COVID thing and political unrest, what are your viewpoints of what's going on in the world right now, brother?
You know, at one point I thought, you know, it's just another. It's bad, obviously. You know, it's contagious. It's killing people. So is the flu. So is, you know, a lot of things. And so I thought, you know, to politicize it, you know, to make it and trying to turn it into Trump's fault. You know,
Yeah.
Like he invented it. I think when it's able to be told, which it can't be right now. I think China put that out on us. That's the new way of war, you know, biological weapons.
Biological warfare. Okay.
And Trump was whipping on trade in the trade war. So.
Correct. He was taking it to them business-wise.
So it's pretty clear that you're
That's
on
true.
the right. For sure, right?
You know, Trump and I are friends. I got some stories.
Let's keep it.
Let's hear one.
Let's be real.
Got a little Trumpster story?
Well, my favorite one with him, you know, I'd met him the first time at WrestleMania 5. You know, because we was at Trump Towers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was this place, Trump
Sure.
Plaza, wherever it was. And, you know, he come up and, you know, shook my hand. He said he was a big fan. Oddly, somehow he didn't really take to Sean that well.
That's a surprise.
That's interesting.
Well, it might have been because Sean was just not standoffish, but he was just so nervous. He came off.
Was he nervous in Donald Trump's presence? I mean, we're talking about two very big egos.
I think it was WrestleMania 5. That was a big deal to us.
Yeah,
you know?
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Trump always had that kind of aura?
When I first met him, I just thought, you know, he's a casino owner. We met 1,000 of them. You know,
right.
Did you ever imagine he'd be president of the United States someday when you first met him?
No, he did. If he would have mentioned it, I would have thought maybe. But what he did with it was so cool. I thought was pretty cool. We met that day. We did photo ops. You know, he kept telling me he was a big fan, which I appreciated. But I thought, you know, he just talked, you know.
Okay.
And that night at the casino, I'm down there with my girl, beautiful long blonde-haired girl I've been seeing for a while. We're down there, about midnight, gambling away, and nervous about the next day because me and Sean, the two smallest guys in the company, had to take on one-man gang and big boss man. Two biggest guys, 6'7", 6'6", 350 pounds, 375 pounds, and our little and it's our first WrestleMania. Man, how are we gonna make this look good? So we were nervous to death. We were down there drinking and trying to gamble and keep our mind off of it until till you had to. And Trump come walking up. I just walked away from the craps table and I see him walking up. And he's about midnight. He's checking on his place. I got to throw him respect on that too. He's checking on his place. At midnight, he's coming through to see, who's doing what. But I see him. He sees me. He smiles, and I'm like, well, damn. He does recognize me away from, and he comes right up to me. He goes, "How you doing, Marty?" And I'm like, oh, I feel all right. He goes, "No, how you doing?" Well, I said, "Oh, win some, lose some." And he smiled. He goes, "Yes." And I introduced Ray Lynn. That was her name, and "Hey, how you doing?" And he looked at the guy and says, "Give him a 500 marker," and to the guy at the craps table, which I didn't know as much as I'm in casinos. I didn't know. I've heard of it, but I didn't know what it meant. So after he walked off, he said, "Good luck." I asked the guy, I said, "What's the 500 marker?" He goes, "Basically, he just gave you $500 to gamble with." Or do what you.
Yeah,
I
right.
played one hand, it wouldn't cash out. No, I didn't. No, I didn't do that. I didn't do that, DT. I wouldn't do that to you.
You didn't take Donald's money.
Yeah, but so that happened, and then 2 years later, WrestleMania 7, he was with Marla Maples. I think she was guest hosting or something. And that was a fun day, man. Willie Nelson was there. DT, we'll call him DT because Trump, that's his stage name.
I guess.
DT, he was walking. Now, I had a different girl. Her name was Colleen. And
You, a different girl? Shocking. Go on.
But long blonde hair, very similar looking.
Okay.
Now this is 2 years later. And, I got my arm around her. I'm all excited, WrestleMania 7. And this time, we can make it look good because we got Barbarian and Haku. That one we can make, we actually ended up making I think they were called the Twin Towers. Maybe.
That was a great match. I was there live. That
Yeah,
was a
I
great
would
match.
say
You did a great job.
It turned out good. We did that double drop kick off the top rope to the middle, which nobody's, with all the stuff going on today, it's still, I ain't seen nobody, do that one. But so I'm walking by with her. Here he comes. He's that smile he's got, and he goes, "Marty, you always had a beautiful girl on your arms." And I smiled and thought about it, and she got all giddy and stuff because she knew who it was. And we walked off and whatever. I went back to his dressing room later, and he's sitting there in his dressing room waiting on Marla to do something. And I said, "Man, you got me in trouble." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "That was my wife." And he goes, Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm doing like this. And I lost that. I said, "I'm just kidding. Trump's a lot like me, and I'm a lot like him." Sometimes we do storylines.
Sometimes.
I don't know. Has he got, if it wasn't for Melania having it, but see, I included somebody in my last storyline that got worldwide attention, and included one of my girls, Winsome, to make the story more believable. Trump had made Marla Maples a household name. And then the word in the streets was he actually had a bet with one of his buddies he would make her a household name. And I guess he won that bet.
Yep, he did.
But she was, at least that particular day, and sorry, Marla, I don't know you that well, just from that day. What a bitch she was being,
Really?
Yeah. And
Surprised Don would put up with that. I bet you she wasn't that way towards him, at least not for long, as we know.
yeah, you'd have to ask him. I don't know.
She was hot, though.
She was that,
crazy
but somebody needs to teach her how to dress. She had her skirt or dress on that was hemmed up too high in the front. I mean, it looked like she bought it at Walmart. I'm not supposed to mention
No,
that. But
What did it come across like that look when the old days where they pull their pants up too high with the belt buckle?
yeah,
or
something like Sean
That
used to
looks
do.
terrible.
Like Sean used to do.
Yeah, Sean used to pull his blue jeans up under his chest. And a big old Texas belt buckle.
Over his belly button? I mean, all
Up here, man. I
by
was
his
like, man,
nipples?
put him down, son.
terrible.
But he had a male camel toe. He'd have him up.
I can't say. What?
When you go in these, sorry about fix my paper tooth. I'll explain that.
What,
in
do
a
you got a
little.
paper tooth?
What?
I'm going to hear about that next.
How do you eat steak?
I'll take the paper out.
You gotta take the paper tooth out, of course.
Sometimes a big piece will get clogged in the gap.
How do you clean that paper tooth? It's paper.
I'll get another piece of paper.
So we just like put a piece
I've
of...
got some. I'll show you. I've got my replacement.
Yeah, I
teeth
want to
here.
see what a paper tooth looks like.
What?
I think I got it
Are
here.
you reaching for more paper teeth?
Right now,
What is going
Well,
on
because this
here?
one only lasts so
Wrestling
long.
icon Marty Jannetty reaching for his paper tooth.
Here it is.
There it is, paper tooth.
What?
And see, the problem, my teeth are so yellow. I got to drink coffee to darken this, so it matches.
Oh my God! You can put the mask back on now, bro. It's
Yeah, that's the real reason I had this on.
Recently, there was a big story about your claim that you made a man disappear after an attempted rape on your person as a teenager. When this was presented to me, I absolutely took this at face value until I either A, heard from you, or B, heard that it was anything other than to be taken seriously. Would you like to fill us in on what happened here,
Well,
please?
for those that don't know, what had happened was when I was 13 years old, I worked at a bowling alley in Columbus, Georgia, where I'm from. And there was a bunch of us kids that worked there, because they'd pay us under the table. You ain't supposed to work till you're 16 in Georgia. I don't know how it is anywhere else, but we were 13. And, back then we smoked a little weed, and this guy supplied it. This guy, it was a gay guy that worked at he worked the front desk. His name was Bob. Imagine that. Bob and Neil, his best friend. But,
Where I come from, that's funny, too bad. Go on.
but I'm gonna get in trouble again. So a lot of the guys would hustle because he would pay the kids, the young boys. He'd pay them $50. This is way back. I'm talking about 1974 or something. He'd pay them $50. And a lot of the guys went for the hustle. They like, yeah, 13 years old. Give me $50. And 2 or 3 times a week, they could buy a car pretty soon.
And a carton of chapstick. Go on. What?
No, they didn't have to do the. They just had to sit there and get. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he was
Oh, they
paying
were
$50.
receiving. They weren't
Consider
pitching.
that would be a catcher,
That's
then.
receiving. That's not pitching.
So that'd be a catcher.
Yeah. Now we got Goodfellas talk going on here. Anyway, go on. So, $50 for a Bob and Neil.
So we smoked a little weed back then.
Wait, Marty, real quick.
What?
So you're actually talking. These guys. Oh yeah, I'm letting them me. It's fine. And
No, not me.
No, but I get it. But you
That's
have
what he said,
these guys
you.
are very open with their comment. It's $50, bro. It's all good.
I was
This is-
13 years old. Shit.
this must be the
we weren't-
70s.
We weren't
This
making
has to
that
be
much
the-
at the bowling alley. We were getting like $3.10 back then. Your minimum wage was $3.35, but if you were part time, you got even less. We got like $3.10 an hour.
Wow.
For one job, and you made more than you could make in a couple of weeks.
In the 70s, this is serious cash. Go on.
Yeah.
It is. Go on.
Oh my God.
But it is, mathematically. Okay, so we've set the mathematical parameters.
All
What
right.
happens from here?
Yeah, so I was going to get a bag of weed from him, a $50 bag of 40. It was actually $40. Back then it was
$40
called a
in
lid.
That's a lot of weed in 1974.
It's
$40
an ounce.
Look at you.
And they called it a lid back then. You get to buy a lid.
That's a lid and the whole pail, too. But
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah.
And so I was going to buy a lid, $40. It's that Mexican dirt weed, but still. Oh,
That's
you can't.
the worst of the weed. I know what he's
It
talking
is
about.
dirt weed. Yeah,
It's horrible. It's got seeds in it. Go on.
yeah, and dirt.
Dirt.
So we went out to his car in front of the bowling alley where he was working, and sat there and made the transaction. Got the bag. And he probably figured, like all the other kids there, and he reaches over and he touches him between the legs and goes, "What's this?" And I'm like, no. And I think what he was thinking, we would trade off.
He's thinking you only make it $3.10 an hour. There's no way you could afford $50 worth of weed.
I guess.
So,
And he was just thinking up for the bag.
Exactly.
But I'm like, no, and just shoved his hand away, let's go get out the car and, go back in.
Right.
And that's kind of where the story should have ended, because that actually happened.
Okay.
And then, but then, he got a little aggressive outside the car. And I'm telling y'all the story that if you haven't heard it before. And he tried to pull me around to the back of the bowling alley and have his way, And I was just 13. He got me down to get on top of me. He's trying to unbutton my pants. And there was a brick right there, bam, upside his head. And evidently it was too hard in the temple area or something. And he rolled over, or fell over. That was it. Now I got to figure out what to do. I'm 13. Now I got a dead body here. What do I do with it? And there's a river, Chattahoochee River is right behind it. And I thought, they find bodies in there. That's where everybody dumps their bodies around here. When there was some bad people around back then, like mafia type people, that's where the river there. So I figured drag him to the river, and throw him in. I was 13. I didn't know what to do. Probably could have just called the police, said he tried to get me. I hit him.
Sure.
But how many of us have been in that situation where, somebody's trying to rape you and you hit them and then they die? You don't know what you're going to do. I panicked. I'm 13 years old. That has never happened before. And so drug him to the river and threw him in. But the thing that got me in trouble is I told about it on Facebook. And, first of all, they blocked me for it. And then secondly, man, like wildfire, it went everywhere. Every news outlet, every wrestling site.
Did you realize how public this was going to get like police involvement?
No, hell no. I didn't even realize that night when I was writing it that I was like, hey, So what if it was 47 years ago? And
I've also seen it reported that you said that this was part of a wrestling angle. Is that part of like to just get the people to leave you the alone at this point?
Well,
or
I mean,
what's the story?
Well, and it got so. I mean, I had people, my friends from Germany, Japan, Australia. I'm thinking of the ones that sent me news articles because it was in the newspapers in these countries.
Yeah.
I mean, it was worldwide. You know, wrestlers kills, and the thing that got me the most was everybody was calling me a murderer. Now, what about that little 13-year-old kid that was getting raped?
Correct.
What do you think the rapists do to a lot of their victims afterwards? They kill them.
Correct.
So, I mean, how are y'all calling me a murderer and you don't care about the kid? I just didn't understand that. But when it, you know, Inside Edition got it, People Magazine, TMZ, of course, they don't miss a trick.
Yeah.
And,
Of course.
you know, when they caught all that fire, like, now the police are investigating. I mean, and all. So I figured out that, you know, this was a storyline I was creating. You know, and the plan was this, and still might be. I don't know if it's going to work now that everybody knows it. I'm supposedly got away with murder. It worked. Everybody called me a murderer. And I got a friend named Darren Kelly. He wrestles as the guard. He's pretty good. But he really was a correction officer. You ever see the movie Sling Blade? Maybe some of them mustard biscuit. That guy, he looks like him, you know. So but he's built big as hell. Well, the storyline would go: here's a wayward cop, you know, disgruntled cop that really wants to get back in good graces. So he's going to take me in and, you know, save face, right? And so, you know, we turned it into the show, wrestling match where If he wins, I go peacefully. He takes me in. If I win, leave me the hell alone. Let it go.
Right.
But it never really got that far because police and what's it called? Where the closed case, cold case 5.
case, yeah.
All
Right.
these people, I mean, in real life, were getting involved, and I'm like, gosh dang, I better turn this into a storyline.
Yeah.
On the real side of it, I didn't drag him to the river. One of my buddies, we drug him over the woods and poured gas on him and burned him up. And do you know bones don't burn all the way through like
No.
like you think?
Takes a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a bunch of big chunks left.
So basically, you don't regret it.
Well, I ain't happy about it.
Is that your first traumatic moment as a kid?
No, it was some earlier.
You've had earlier things happen. Okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, but not like that.
No, not quite like that, but
No, some of the beatings that from family members were kind of rough. I won't say who, but yeah, that was.
But you had problems with your family.
Was that?
You had problems with your family.
No, when we was young, just one of the members of the family wasn't real good at correcting. Not knowing how to spank right. Probably went way overboard a lot. Using a coat hanger instead of a belt and stuff like that.
So do you think you got into professional wrestling just to get away from all of it and just start a new life and be away from what you were going through?
No, I hated moving furniture.
Oh, there you go.
That's easy enough.
No, I mean, I love sports anyway, But just so I don't get in trouble again with the police now, we started a new investigation. It's all a storyline for wrestling. I'm a pro wrestler for 35 years. I actually created the barbershop window, even though Sean likes to say he did, for the Nasty Boys. Don't even make sense. I mean, I saw him do an interview. Like, yeah, that was the idea I had for us and the Nasty Boys. No, when? No, me and him sat and we kicked it back and forth and fine-tooth combed it. And, but that storyline is still around today. 27 years, 28 years. How long is it now? 27 years.
Time. One
27
of the
years.
greatest storylines in the history of wrestling.
Yeah,
At
and
least
so now evidently I just started another good one. It got worldwide. When's the last time WWF or AEW or whoever else is around right now? When's the last time they got on Inside Edition or worldwide? Everybody shooting newspapers with them in it over a storyline.
Right.
I can answer never.
What was the whole deal with your daughter and then wanting to have sex with her?
Nah, that was a hack job. That wasn't me at all.
So what happened there?
Actually, I got a call one morning, early, 5 or 6, and somebody said, "Marty, you need to take that off your Facebook." I'm like, "Take what off? What are you talking about? I ain't even been on there tonight." And they said, "You know about Bianca?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I haven't said nothing about Bianca." And they said, "Marty, you must have got drunk and forgot." I said, "I'm not even drunk. Do you hear me?" But they said, "There's a thing on your page about you wanting to have sex with Bianca, your daughter." And I'm like, "Whoa." And I went and I looked, and there wasn't nothing there. Because evidently you got attention real fast, too.
Yeah.
And whoever did it, well, however that works. I don't know how the hack world, I don't know how that works. I know I changed my password like 4 or 5 times a year, but it's still, somehow I get hacked all the time. If I was going to want to have sex with my damn daughter, do you think I'd tell the internet? What the
It may sound strange, but do you ever worry about how the WWE will perceive you when these things are out there about you?
Nah, they already blocked me for life.
Do you really feel that way at this point? There's no chance of them ever, calling you or making amends or putting you where you belong, because you belong in the Hall of Fame.
Well, they couldn't do that for a while because it was involved in a lawsuit with CTE.
Okay.
And they couldn't even answer. They couldn't even talk to me on the phone if I called up to find out why the check was late. Like royalty check. Well, they couldn't even talk to me on the phone. I had to go through their lawyer if I wanted to talk to them, which I didn't want to talk to them that bad. Vince and I are on great terms.
Okay.
I always said that if I could have got to him instead of get to the horse's mouth, not his, or however that goes.
So you feel there are people in the way right now to get you to be able to sit down and talk to Vince and maybe get back on the same page, get you in the Hall of Fame, or?
I mean, you know what? As much as I would love to be in the Hall of Fame, and I think I honestly, for some of the people, Donald
You're a Hall
Trump's
of
in
Famer.
there.
You're a Hall of Famer, absolutely.
If Donald Trump's in there, how can I not be?
What are the effects you have now from it, though?
Yeah, what are the long-term effects
Yeah.
of the concussions over the
I
years?
hallucinate a lot. I got and I can't name some names, but I'll tell you one thing. This real odd. Well, a lot of things are odd, but and this has only started in the last year. I can be walking through a house. Damn, I'm sorry, this paper thing ain't working this time. There goes my dentist license.
We might have to upgrade to plastic teeth.
I can be walking through the house. Fine, I'm going to the kitchen and get a sandwich, and watch the rest of the Braves game. But something happens on the way. All of a sudden, I start crying. I mean, not not like that, but just real tears of sadness. It'll stream down, and you feel the emotion. That emotion that usually comes with. And you know what it was? I put too much tooth in there.
Dude, get rid of that tooth. It's a menace.
We'll
put a Facebook post up about it later.
That better?
I'm not sure.
It feels better.
There you go.
But
It actually looks very good. I got to be honest with you. I'm like, it looks perfectly fine.
if I get it right, you can't tell.
You cannot tell.
But I'm sitting there, tears. I shouldn't say crying, but tears, and the emotion is sad. Like, I mean that. Oh man, that hurt. Oh, so sad. But I'm like, well, what the hell's what? There's nothing wrong, And I talked to one of the other guys about it. We were just talking about it because a bunch of us have it. And I'd mentioned to him about the crying. He told me not to ever say his name, so I won't. But he's big time, and y'all would know. Everybody would know him. But he said, when I told him about it, I said, "Have you started doing this yet?" And I told him about. I walked through the house and I'll start crying for no reason. And I actually feel that emotion. And he started crying on the phone with me. And I said, "What's the matter, man?" He said, "I've been doing that, and I thought I was the only one."